So I do have a couple questions. First is with 18,000 people in the queue for Career Connect, this 30 million, is that what you would need in order to maintain or grow this program so that we can get those folks to the job training they need? We know that the people who are going through the program are people who certainly need it and who we're trying to reach. So how do we get those folks who are waiting to completion of these programs?
Right. That's a very good question. So we have focused on braiding funding sources from the very beginning. So our workforce boards are all of our partners. They are braiding not only their WIOA funding for job training, but they all have grants that they're using to be able to fund and braid. We're going to continue to do that as the Career Connect funding is fully expended. In part, the WISE Fund would continue to support the best practice programs that are in Career Connect. We have a lot of interest from philanthropy, so we would love to bring philanthropy into the ability to help support those. And another initiative that we're going to be working on and rolling out this spring in partnership with our industry partners is to get them to start contributing to the cost of these job training programs. So if they're hiring folks out of these programs, can they help support the cost of running these programs? They're very beneficial to them, and actually the cost would be a drop in the bucket compared to them having to do all of this recruitment and training in-house. So we're really looking at how do we continue to braid these funding sources and what additional federal opportunities will be coming down the pike that we'll continue to watch for. We know that that is not as a well of a known supply of funding for the future, but we're looking to ensure that we're bringing in funding from many different sources to continue these programs.
Thank you, and I love the idea of getting some skin in the game from the business community, particularly as this is training that directly supports their industries, and I think it's important that, as being good corporate partners, because everything affects each other, we're all connected in this, it's important for them to understand their role in making sure that we have getting people into these good programs. My last question is the Good Jobs Challenge, that's federal funding. What is the status of that currently? Has that been expended? Is that in the queue? Is it safe? Where are we?
Currently, as we understand it, that funding is safe, is fully obligated and contracted out. The majority of the funding has been received and allocated, and conversations with the EDA this week has said that that program is going to continue to move forward. We know that it's a changing landscape, so we're keeping very close eye on that. But it's really a program designed to support businesses, and so we're working closely with the EDA to make sure that we're compliant to what they need us to do, and that money is safe and be fully expended.
Thank you. And then as far as marketing goes, I know, at least for my district, I have 2 alliance districts. They're distressed municipalities. Whenever I ask for you to be at a jobs fair or a public event, your team comes down and engages the community. And I remember at one point I was pumping gas, and suddenly the Career Connect program popped up on my screen as I was pumping gas. Can you share with us some of the marketing that you're doing to make sure that you're reaching people across the state who we're targeting for these programs?
Absolutely. So that program is funded by Career Connect, but I also see that as a great opportunity with the WISE Fund to continue to fund that program. I believe we're about $1.5 million in on that, and a lot of the collateral, the big expenditures kind of been expended, so we can keep that moving forward. We actually mapped, we have a map of Connecticut with the highest unemployment rates by zip code. And that's and then mapped on top of that our alliance districts and our low income districts. And so we're able to really pinpoint and focus where our marketing and outreach happens. And so to your point, it just takes us to call up our marketing company and say, we're seeing that not as many people from a certain zip code are coming in that we want to target. Can you take some of that collateral and make some buys in that region? and that happens, and what you see is the ad pop up when you're pumping gas. So we've had millions of hits on the social media sites and on the website, and so we feel that that's been a very high return on our investment to keep that marketing program moving.
And for those who are waiting, right? We know we have 18,000 people that would love to take part in this. Is there still engagement with them? How are we keeping them? How are we going to keep them moving to make sure that they can continue in this pathway?
Yeah, absolutely. So they are being served by case managers through the 5 regional workforce boards. And in some cases through their community-based organizations who are like really pinpointed on specific populations within their communities. We are pushing information out to them and continue to look for those other funding sources that will be able to support their opportunities to go into those job training programs. And remember that number is totality over the course of 2.5, almost 3 years now. So there's people that are in different places within that queue.
Thank you for humoring me with all of these questions. One thing that I've always appreciated is you really stood up your office in the midst of the COVID crisis at a time where people were out of work at a much higher rate, where the economic climate was changing as far as what jobs were going to be available, and there was a pronounced mismatch between in-demand fields and the skill sets that people had. And so this is certainly, at least in my eyes, a way to get people into not just a job but a career. And you put it together in the midst of some pretty strong headwinds. My last question, then I'm going to check and see if anyone else has questions, is I know that the Career Connect website was built in the midst of COVID, and I think with ARPA funds. Do you have a plan to make sure that we can keep that going under the current system past the ARPA funds?
Absolutely. So we are working with DAS on some funds for technology, and the goal is to bring the portal back under the Connecticut umbrella of technology and work with DAS to ensure that that pipeline in the portal continues and actually expands, and we're looking at ways in which we can add additional features and opportunities for the folks that are in the portal, and then also working closely with Department of Labor and the Office of Policy and Management and P20 WIN as to how we can connect the information that's in the portal into CT hires, and then be able to build additional dashboards on top of that to be able to pull real-time reports out of. So yeah, there's a whole strand of work that's happening with regards to the data.
Thank you for that.